This is Daily Armenia, SivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. The Armenian prelacy in Syria called on Armenians to be cautious and only leave home when necessary in the aftermath of the fall of the Assad regime over the weekend to Turkish-backed Sunni militant groups. The Assad family had been in power since 1971, and there is great uncertainty about what its end will mean for the country as a whole and minority groups in particular. The prelacy said that Syrian Armenians have a long-standing and constructive presence in the country, and that they will continue to assist in its rehabilitation. Due to the security situation in Syria, the diplomatic staff of the Armenian embassy in Damascus will temporarily continue its work from Beirut, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced yesterday. It noted the embassy has a hotline where it has been fielding calls about obtaining Armenian visas and passports. An evacuation flight to get Armenians out of Syria that was scheduled for this Saturday is now on hold, as there is currently no safe way to do so. To mark today's International Anti-Corruption Day, Transparency International Armenia assessed the country's mixed anti-corruption efforts, pointing to stagnating reform progress and raising concerns about selective prosecution. Despite Armenia's ambitious 2023-26 anti-corruption strategy, the organization notes that results remain disappointing, showing little to no improvement in Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index over recent years, following a big improvement after 2018. The Watchdog highlights several critical concerns. Most notably, there appears to be selective enforcement in corruption cases, with officials from the ruling Civil Contract Party facing limited scrutiny despite journalistic investigations revealing problematic practices. These include conflicts of interest, questionable party financing, potential procurement collusion, and unjustified state budget expenditures. Of particular concern are unresolved allegations regarding monetary incentives offered during Yerevan's elections for participation in the ruling party's campaign. The organization expresses worry about the situation in local government, particularly in Gyumri and Vanadzor, where state interventions into the electoral process have been described as unclear and contradictory. On a positive note, the statement acknowledges several encouraging developments. Law enforcement agencies actively pursue criminal cases against former high-ranking officials, and the recovery of illicitly obtained assets has increased in both frequency and scale. The statement concludes by calling on the ruling Civil Contract Party to demonstrate stronger political will in addressing these challenges. It emphasizes that consolidating a one-party system and weak checks and balances pose significant risks to democracy and the rule of law. Despite promises to eliminate political influence from universities, Armenia's government has maintained significant control over the country's higher education institutions, an investigation by the Armenian outlet Infocom reveals. The investigation found that 8 out of 12 chairs of state university boards of trustees in Yerevan are political appointees, with 3 being ruling party members. This starkly contrasts with Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's 2018 pledge that no party member should have the right to be a university rector, and that universities should be 100% self-governing. 47% of the Prime Minister's appointees hold political positions or are supporters of the ruling Civil Contract Party, while an additional 18.3% of ministerial appointees are either state officials or connected to the ruling party. A draft higher education and science law was introduced in September 2023, proposing to prohibit party members from holding senior administrative positions in universities. However, implementing these restrictions depends on the law's final version and the planned consolidation of universities. The investigation highlights a significant gap between the government's repeated promises of creating an education system free from political influence and the increased party presence in university governance structures. On the latest episode of Mindful Leaders, we meet designer and entrepreneur Tatev Petrosyan. Raised in France, Tatev's deep ancestral connection to the regions of Mush, Sasun, Van, and Yereknadzor has shaped her life, as did the 2020 Artsakh War. We discuss how she has used her entrepreneurial journey to create design spaces encouraging mindfulness, meaning, and compassion. You can find a link to the broadcast in the video description.
That she crossed the Arax River when they exiled during the genocide, putting her husband on.
And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.